Don't Go Davy by Sunny Brooks. In the clearing in the woods lived Gareth, a bear so tall. He was a grumpy, miserable bear who had no friends at all. The wood had been taken over by the bear all scowling and mean. The creatures wanted their homes back, but Gareth would not leave the scene. Nobody could go into the woods, nobody could go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl he was wise, he hooted, "Tu-whit, tu-woo." He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." He said, "You can trust me, I see everything from here. There's no need to worry and live every day in fear. Just look up and find me and ask for what you need. I'm here at any time for you, a best friend, yes, indeed." But the animals didn't listen. They wanted to go their own way. Each had an idea to follow. Each thought that they'd win the day. Pretty Mo, the roe deer, fluttered her lashes so long. "Just leave it to me and I'll shift him, even though I'm not very strong." The sweet deer bravely rushed in and gave him a great big kick. Gareth just moaned and rolled over, whilst giving himself a lick. Nobody could go into the woods, nobody would go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl he was wise, he hooted, "Tu-whit, tu-woo." He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." Cyril Squirrel pulled funny faces and danced all around with glee, teasing, "You're a great big fluff ball, and you'll never catch me." He sped up the tree armed with nuts and pelted to cause great pain. Gareth growled and shook his head. "Was that a drop of rain?" Nobody could go into the woods, nobody would go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl he was wise, he hooted, "Tu-whit, tu-woo." He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." Horace Hedgehog stretched and yawned, waking from his long winter's sleep. "I'll have a go at old Grumpy. I'll alarm him and make him weep." The animals pulled a branch back, launching the prickly ball. Gareth squatted him like a fly. His bravery did no good at all. Nobody could go into the woods, nobody would go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl he was wise, he hooted, "Tu-whit, tu-woo." He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." Woody Woodpecker preened his fine feathers, saying, "No one can ignore my noise. Come on, just watch my back now. I'm taking one for the boys." The busy bird pecked and he hammered loudly above Gareth's head. The bear grabbed a tree and shook it. Woody, so dizzy, just fled. Nobody could go into the woods, nobody would go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl he was wise, he hooted, "Tu-whit, tu-woo." He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." Robbie Rabbit's family choir thought there would be safety in numbers. They sang the most untuneful songs, waking Gareth from his slumbers. He stared at them with fury, not so sleepy, not so mellow. They scampered in every direction to escape the monstrous fellow. Nobody could go into the woods, nobody would go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl he was wise, he hooted, "Tu-whit, tu-woo." He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." Now Roxy was so foxy, she had a cunning plan. "Foxes are so wily, I'll move him if I can." The expert chicken catcher invited him to dinner, but he ignored the squawking hens, and so was still the winner. Nobody could go into the woods, nobody would go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl, he was wise. He hooted, "To-wit-to-woo!" He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." Madge the Badger tried a disguise. Her choice of an outfit made no sense. She was not built for hiding either, even in undergrowth dense. But Madge was still undeterred. "I'll scratch him and give him a bite." Gareth heard her snorting and snuffling, and stood to his very tall height. Madge backed off with a terrible stare, till she joined her friends on the outside. In the woods they could hear Gareth stomping, growling loudly, with eyes wild and wide. Nobody could go into the woods, nobody would go near. Gareth Bear was prowling around, and everyone lived in fear. The old owl, he was wise. He hooted, "Twit-to-woo!" He blinked his big round eyes and said, "I'm looking out for you." "Oh, now we've upset him," they all said. "We should have just let him be. But why should he have all the woodland? He needs to be fair. Can't he see?" Owl said, "Bear's just very lonely. He doesn't know how to reach out. He's decided he's king of the forest, with his growling and whining and shout." The creatures all gathered round Owl. He told them a tale of great truth, a story from the Bible, a story from their youth. When things they overpower us and everything looks bad, remember Goliath the giant and David just a lad. He didn't wear any armour, he only used a stone. The giant was defeated, for we are never alone. The only creature yet to try was Davy, the mouse so small. He was ready to take on the bear without any worries at all. "Oh no," said his friends, "have you seen his size? To tackle him would not be wise." Begged the forest creatures all, don't go, Davy." Everyone hid their eyes. "You'll end up in his gravy." The owl, he said to Davy, "You're the one to go. You may be the smallest creature, but you'll be safe, I know." The owl, he whispered in his ear to tell him of his plan. Davy couldn't wait to go and be the bravest man. He reassured young Davy, "Just you follow me, for you know I can see everything from the top of that tall tree." Begged the forest creatures all, don't go, Davy." Everyone hid their eyes. "You'll end up in his gravy." The owl led flying overhead, and there sat Gareth kipping. The little mouse followed on, a scampering and a skipping. He stopped right by the giant's foot and listened to him snore. If he was not too careful, the mouse would make him roar. He climbed right up the furry foot, beginning to tickle his toes, and then he climbed up further and tickled him under his nose. The bear, he sniffed and snorted, and then began to wake. Davy held his breath and hoped this wasn't a huge mistake. Gareth started laughing. He giggled more and more. Davy giggled with him. He was relieved for sure. They sat and chatted for ages. Bear told how he was so sad. He was grumpy and shout others out, but inside he wasn't so bad. He knew he had been bossy and wanted to make amends. Calling everyone into the forest, he had lots of new friends. Now everyone could go to the woods. Everyone would go near. Gareth Bear was dancing around, and nobody lived in fear. The old owl wasn't so stern. He joined in with the fun, tickling them with his feathers. More peaceful times had begun. Together they were dancing, together they were friends. Trusting old owl met all of their needs, and that's where the story ends. Except life is full of ups and downs, with troubles along the way. Just as things were going well, there were plans to spoil the day. Ada Adder was hissing so jealous, lurking in grass nearby, planning to strike at the friends, until Owl slowly opened one eye.